All right, I am pleased to introduce now Eric Semler, chairman of Semler Scientific. This is a company specializing in innovative diagnostic tools for chronic diseases. And he'll be discussing the journey of strategic Bitcoin adoption as a primary Treasury reserve asset and why other companies should do the same.
Thank you. Thanks, Natalie. Natalie has a very cool book coming out in the fall that everyone needs to read called Bitcoin for Everyone. So very exciting stuff. Where are my slides? Okay, great. I've never done this before, so this is fun. First, I want to say thank you to the strategy team, to Michael Saylor and Fong for this incredible event. Such a great opportunity to be here, and so much better than being here than at the Milken conference with the TradFi crowd. Semler Scientific is the second U.S. public company to adopt the Bitcoin Treasury standard, and we're now the fourth largest Bitcoin Treasury company in the United States. Our roots are in the medical business. My father was a cardiologist in Oregon, started the company in 2007. He was not only a cardiologist, but a very inventive person who invented a number of different devices to monitor and screen for cardiovascular diseases. I was an early investor, seed investor in the company back in 2007, and have been just passive investor until about 2 years ago. My father is no longer involved. It was just something that I wanted to help my dad get started, and then ironically, I'm deeply involved now. Here's a bit of a snapshot of our company. Can't really see it very well, but we IPO'd about 10 years ago. We have a market cap of around 400 million. We have 100 million of convertible debt. We're actually the most levered public equity in Bitcoin Treasury, which is good if you think Bitcoin's going up. We have about $350 million now of Bitcoin, and our volatility is about 3 times that of the S&P. So some of you may not know this, but we were kind of an earlier version of MicroStrategy. Our stock went up 13,500% between 2016 and 2021. We were actually, I think, one of the best performing stocks in the world. We reached $1.2 billion market cap. And that was driven by our product, QuantaFlo, which we still have, which is a device used to for early screening of a disease called peripheral artery disease, and it's PAD. And PAD is a serious silent killer. Half the people that have PAD don't know they have it, and so they need to be tested early for it. If they do have PAD, they have 3 times the higher chance of having a stroke or a heart attack or amputation or death. So it's really important to do that. And our product has saved hundreds of thousands of lives, and it became a darling of the Medicare Advantage companies. They drove our growth, and we had very high margins. And we were kind of like a forever stock. You would never sell our stock. It went up every day. And then in 2021, it hit a wall. And we were kind of the victims of a political attack on the Medicare Advantage industry, led by Elizabeth Warren, who's kind of attacked us on 2 fronts now. But our stock was affected, our company was affected by the pressure on the Medicare Advantage space. And it sent us down into what I call the zombie zone, using Michael's zombie analogy. We were a zombie. And we fit the criteria. I define zombie in those 5 bullet points. We had terrible stock performance. We had a very low valuation. Almost 40% of our market cap was in cash. We were generating a lot of cash. Our growth had slowed, but we remained very profitable. And so, as this was happening 2 years ago, I decided to take notice. A little bit about me. I started my career out as a journalist. I worked for the New York Times, and then I got a JD and MBA from Harvard, and decided to go into finance. Eventually started my own hedge fund, but I focused on technology and media. And I tended to be a contrarian investor. I was we were the only ones who gave Netflix money to go into streaming. There were no other institutions on Wall Street that believed they would be successful in streaming. So we gave them $150 million for that. And we were one of their largest institutional shareholders. So that was my fund, TCS Capital. We were about $4 billion under management. And one of the other things that I had success doing was being an activist. I really view it like being a reluctivist. I reluctantly got active in companies that weren't performing, I guess earlier versions of zombies. It was just a matter of being kind of stuck in these stocks for years and not making any money and wanting to do something about it. And usually finally getting so frustrated that, I went to the board and said, look, you got to change the board. You got to put me on the board. We got to do something to drive shareholder value. And so, ironically, that's what I did with my namesake company. My dad wasn't involved. It was much easier to do. And so I went to the board, and this 2 years ago, and I said, I'd like 2 board seats. And I brought in another board member who owned a lot of stock, and we'd like to, change the direction of the company. And so our board, that happened. I was able to pull that off. And we ended up with a board that had a lot of skin in the game. We 30% or more, I think, of our board's ownership. Our board owned over 30% of the stock, and so it was a much different story. We were all about maximizing shareholder value now, and that was something that was kind of a pet peeve of mine, because most boards, as many of you know, don't really. They're filled with retired folks who were just collecting a check and are going through the motions and not really driven to maximize shareholder value. So now we had this company in a position to do that. We thought the answer would be doing acquisitions. We had $60 million of cash. We figured we'd buy something in the medical space. We probably looked at 100 acquisitions over a year and couldn't find anything compelling, and it was frustrating. And so at that point, I was an investor in MicroStrategy. I was kind of a contrarian investor throughout my career, and I saw what Michael was doing. I was really obviously benefiting from it and impressed by it, and realized that we looked a lot like MicroStrategy did in August of 2020. We had a very similar profile. And it was amazing to me that no one had actually tried to copy Michael, or at least follow in his footsteps, and that really surprised me. So I guess you could say I just wanted to be like Mike, and said I gotta get in touch with this guy, and I didn't know him. So I called my friend Tom Lee, and Tom Lee knew Michael, and he put me in touch with Michael. And there aren't that many. Not everyone's going to pick up the phone when a zombie calls, but Michael did. And he rolled out the red carpet, couldn't have been more generous with his time and advice and encouragement. And he helped me to educate our board that, fortunately embraced this idea of becoming a Bitcoin Treasury company. And so a little less than a year ago, we became the second US public company to do this. We are married to this thesis that Bitcoin is digital gold, and therefore buying it at these levels makes a ton of sense. And now we're the 4th largest Bitcoin treasury company in the US, the 9th largest US corporate holder of Bitcoin. Our Bitcoin holdings are growing rapidly over the last few weeks. And like I said earlier, we're the most levered Bitcoin treasury equity. So Bitcoin goes up, we stand to benefit exponentially. And our performance since we started has been good. We've outperformed the market by a lot. We've outperformed Bitcoin. And that's with intense headwinds in our healthcare business, which are now reversing, and things are starting to look up for us on the healthcare side, which is great, because that's just organic cash flow that helps us buy Bitcoin. So we think we're really just getting started. These are our Bitcoin holdings, hold over $350 million of Bitcoin. This is how we have been doing it. We've done it with our cash flow, with convertible bonds, which are long-term in duration, 5 years, and with ATM. We also have a lot of firepower left. We have almost $500 million of Bitcoin left on our authorization. We've done it intelligently and creatively, as you can see from our high BTC yield and BTC gain. So for some of you who are thinking about considering a Bitcoin Treasury strategy, thought I might give some tips for what to expect, both positive and negative, some of the unexpected. For us, I'd say the biggest gut punch was we announced the strategy. We buy $60 million of Bitcoin. We're so proud of ourselves. And like the next morning, there's a headline that there's going to be a distribution finally of all the Mt. Gox victims. Bitcoin, and Bitcoin went down like 20 to 25% pretty rapidly after that. And I know this happened to MicroStrategy too the first time they bought Bitcoin. Not maybe as much, but I learned that last night. The Mt. Gox experience, the slide in Bitcoin, made us look really stupid, I think, on the outside, but inside we were thrilled. I mean, this was a great opportunity to buy it lower, but you're going to face that conviction test. This is more personal to me. I hate social media, so you got to be ready for the impact of social media and how important it is for a Bitcoin Treasury company. I'm somebody who spent 25 years of my investment career avoiding the press, and now I crave it, which is weird. My kids think I'm a joke on social media, so that's a little bit hard to get over. But it's, you got to learn to be good at the soundbite, which is difficult, but I'm getting used to it. That's the Heisman Trophy. I think of that as a stop sign or a stiff arm. We got stiff armed by the SEC. You're going to run into red tape, issues with the SEC, not so now. We had a lot of trouble getting our ATM approved, a lot of runaround. You may have issues in your operating business that hold you back from buying Bitcoin. So there's going to be blackout periods and periods where you wish you could be in there. You can't really time it as much as you wish. These are the positive surprises. This is the best surprise. This guy's the Bill Belichick of Bitcoin coaches. He is the GOAT, great mentor. He keeps you straight on the straight and narrow, keeps you laser focused. He's so generous with his time and advice. And he's a trailblazer, and we're so fortunate to have him on our team. His courage, his vision, his conviction, has turned traditional finance upside down. And it's hard for me to explain to my friends who are still traditional finance folks, but it's amazing what he's done. And had he not been successful, and had he not been such a great mentor to me, I think we would definitely still be in the zombie zone. And I think of him as this, we're Simon and me and Dylan, Mike, we're in this bicycling race together. We're on the same Peloton team. We're riding behind him. He's setting the pace. He braves the elements. He shields us from the air pressure and the headwinds and allows us to conserve energy, stay back, and fuel up in Bitcoin. I think we'll never catch up with him, but he's definitely pushing us. These are some of the other positive surprises. So we were a zombie, and now we're reawakened. Our whole organization is reawakened. Bitcoin has kind of electrified our stock, our employees, our shareholders. And it's a great feeling. Volatility is vitality, and it's just been an exhilarating experience. Other positives, this is a little crowded, this screen, but you just get immense feedback, so much feedback, constant feedback from your shareholder base, which completely turns over. It goes from being healthcare focused to Bitcoin focused, and some of it's critical, some of it's cheerleading, but it's great to have that, and it's also very inspiring and invigorating. That is not Michael Saylor and Fong Lee on the Oregon Trail. That's Lewis and Clark, and my roots are in Oregon, and I think there's this emotionally and financially rewarding feeling about being part of a pioneering expedition, being early in a mega trend. It's incredibly rewarding. Obviously, all the financing opportunities that Michael has created for us and others, and for himself, for his company, are also very, very positive and hold huge potential. And a lot of people ask me what's next, and I think it's a simple answer. The future is orange. Thanks.